afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to this June 20th meeting of the Tallahassee City Commission. For those of you who are willing and able, please stand for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear loving and gracious God, you are the giver of all good gifts, and we thank you today for all the blessings you have so abundantly bestowed upon us and our city. We are grateful for the privilege of meeting here today. For this community, our elected leaders give us the strength to execute our responsibilities today. We ask that you guide our hearts and our minds in all that we do, and that the decisions made this evening will be done with wisdom, according to your will, for your honor and glory. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. City Manager, are there any agenda modifications?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Are these working? You know if these...
I think they're not working as well. If we could get the microphones turned up a little bit, please. Item 13.03 has been removed from your agenda. It was originally on your agenda. There was an intent to protest that award, and therefore it was removed. Also, item 13.06 involving a request from the Kearney Center has been removed at the request of the Kearney Center itself. We've added materials on item 13.04 since it was originally placed on your agenda, and an attachment has been added to item 15.03.
Great. Thank you very much, City Manager. Commissioners, we're now at the point of the meeting to hear from speakers on agended items. Treasurer Clerk, are there any speakers?
Yes, Mayor, we do have a number of speakers, primarily on item number 13.01, your Senior Center update. The first speaker will be Judy Westbrook, and I will ask her and other speakers to come to the microphone in the middle of the room. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for comments, and I'll give you a heads up when you're nearing the end of your time. So again, the first speaker will be Judy Westbrook. She'll be followed by Ann Clear. And with that, if you give a name and address, you may begin.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We have blessings also. We silver-haired wonders. And many of them are right here in this room. People who are like us, people who are younger than us, and people who we trust to take care of us. We're asking you to consider funding the new senior center. We feel we need it. We've outgrown our space. And when you look at the wealth of new buildings coming to house people like us, where are we going to put them? Where are we going to give them activities? One of our blessings is we have so many things here available to us through the universities, the symphony, artist series, OLLI, but many of us can't afford those prices. And that's why we need the senior center. That we can afford. And it's like family to us. So we need to look ahead as to where we will but where we will provide space for our newer citizens that we're told are coming this way. They're coming to retire and be part of us. So please consider very seriously how much we need a new location and how much it would benefit not only us, but our coming people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Ann Clear. She'll be followed by Linda Roberts.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
First of all, I would like to thank you for your past support and your future support. To me, the Tallahassee Senior Center is one of our crown jewels. And we have Sheila Sayer, her employees, and the volunteers who are the watchers of that gate. And I am absolutely amazed. I'm on the advisory council, and every time we go to a meeting, I'm amazed at how much they can get done in such a little bitty space. There's not 1 inch in that building that's not utilized. And the way they do it on budget. We just talked about maintenance this year, and we have to have a water heater. And Sheila wasn't sure. Do we have the money? We have the money? Yeah, we have the money. But that's because they watch it. One of the things that I do, because I'm in real estate, been doing it for 45 years, when somebody moves to Tallahassee and they're new, and I say, and they're over 50, I said, well, what do you like to do? And they always mention, their hobbies and everything. And I said, then you must be going to the Tallahassee Senior Center, because that's a place of joy and fulfillment. No matter what your interests are, we can meet it. So we really appreciate your support and hope in the future we can get more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Could you give your name and address, please?
Yes, Ann Clear, 1805 Dumar Drive.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Linda Roberts, and then Alice Pomador.
I'm Linda Roberts, 4513 Duck Lake Point Lane, 32303. When I move, I'm going to move to Smith Lane or something like that. Anyway, I am a participant and volunteer at the Tallahassee Senior Center, and I am immediate past president of the Tallahassee Senior Citizens Foundation. And so on behalf of all of those groups, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, city commissioners, city manager, city staff, Ashley Edwards, and the staff at Parks and Rec. And a quick aside, thank you so much for everything that you're bringing to Northwest Tallahassee. That's where I live, so all of the amenities in the Northwest Park are particularly important to me. But back to the Senior Center. Thank you so much for the outstanding support that you give to the Senior Center. The foundation and the city of Tallahassee work so well together that it is a beautiful thing. The city staff and the foundation staff work together under Sheila Salyer's excellent guidance to give us seniors the best senior center anywhere. And I have been privileged to visit some in other places. So thank you. We're so grateful for that. And we are so looking forward to the new senior center, the additional senior center that you made a top priority with the sales tax funds. We are bursting at the seams, as you know. There's no place to park, which kind of, it's success. There's no place to park. Classes are overflowing. Right now we have a staff member whose office is 3 bookcases and a wall. So we are ready right now for that new additional senior center, and we appreciate so much all the support that the city of Tallahassee has always given and all the cooperation that we have received. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. Next speaker.
Next is Alice Pomador, and then Zippy Wartenberg.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Alice Pomador, 3250 Belmead Trail, which is down by Southwood. I work in the Department of Geriatrics at Florida State University College of Medicine. And since I've been here these past 15 years, we have partnered with the Senior Center for training of our students and also for the family medicine and internal medicine residents at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. Many of those individuals have returned to this city, and I have to tell you that it is quite key for us to have access to and enthusiastic participation by the Senior Center in our training programs. Our students learn a great deal from their senior mentors. We have art exhibits from the Senior Center in the College of Medicine so that they can begin to appreciate these things more. And we are really looking forward to having the additional location so that we have more opportunities for our students. We have 120 students in each of the first 2 classes, and now we also have the PA class, and we're literally running out of places to put them. And with seniors for them to work with. I did contribute to the issue of seniors in Tallahassee by importing all my surviving relatives here. And then they also all went to the senior center. So I have an appreciation on both sides of the fence for what it does for us and for what it can do for our own family members. And I want to thank you all so much for your continued support of the senior center activities.
Thank you.
Great. Zippy Wartenberg and then Kelvin Wallace.
Yeah, I'm Zippy Wartenberg, 3625 Gettysburg Court, and I've been here before to plead for the Northwest and Southeast outside parks, and we thank you so much for funding that. I don't know why the papers are picking on pickleball so much, or the people are picking on pickleball so much. It's only a tiny, tiny little piece of that park, but we certainly do thank you for funding that. By the way, I invited y'all to come play with us, and I hadn't seen a one of y'all out there.
We delegated
Matthew,
Curtis.
but you know what? It might be because you work. And
It could
you
be
know,
why.
we don't have a senior center to play in at night. We need a new senior center for out there. We had an altercation today, just today, because we got 2 courts. Only 8 people can play at a time. Somebody jumped out on the court and they shouldn't have been. And it's something like that all the time. People get tired of waiting to play. You know, it's $2. You might get to play 3 games in 2 hours, maybe, but people are getting tired of it. And I've seen the bridge group spilling out over into the, I don't know, some other room. Please, please, please consider a new senior center so y'all can come play with us. It'll get in you and you'll just love it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Soon, very soon.
Right.
Next is Kelvin Wallace.
I don't know about the rest of my colleagues, but I was interested, Ziffy, in who won the dispute over the pickleball. Did you win? No, I'm messing with you. Speaking. Oh.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelvin Wallace, and I'm the president of the Tallahassee Duplicate Bridge Club, which is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to the promotion of the game of bridge. Bridge is a game that requires memory, tactics, probability, and communication skills, all skills which exercise the brain. We are grateful for our relationship with the Tallahassee Senior Center, and that relationship goes back 37 years. Our games have been held in the same space, which is used as the dining area, and because our tables are different than the dining tables, every time we have a game, the dining room tables have to come down, our tables have to go up. Whenever our game is completed, we have to do the reverse, and that's been going on all this time. Having a dedicated cards and games space in the new senior center will eliminate this need for this breakdown and setup every day, and it'll eliminate the wear and tear on the tables also. It will allow us to expand our games and also provide space for teaching bridge classes. And we look forward to the continued relationship with the Senior Center and providing activities that are beneficial to the seniors and to the community that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
I believe that's the final speaker on that particular item. The next speaker is Bill Wilson, speaking on item 1304, which is your public safety update. He'll be followed by Garvin Bowden.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Bill Wilson, 1816 Old Fort Drive, Tallahassee. I sent each of you a memo. I hope you received it regarding my thoughts on the RFP on the public safety complex. We have two basic thoughts. One is if as staff indicates, the basic analysis of the joint proposal we submitted with Talcor was based on the 12-acre site and not on the full 16-acre site, that if you add the additional 4 acres, that should be scored separately and would get a higher score and would be the highest ranked proposal. And the one should be negotiated at the $5.9 million level. Beyond that, we think should be some concern about the fact that the price weighting was only 30% in the evaluation criteria, and you're looking at a 12-acre site at $5.6 million plus lease buyouts and relocation and demolition versus a 16-acre site for $1.6 million. So you're looking $5 to $6 million of additional costs for 4 less acres. I think you need the extra acres because you're going to have to build more pickleball courts. Thank you.
Sounds like it.
Thank you. Next speaker.
All right. The next speaker is Garvin Bowden on item 1305, and I believe he's primarily here available to respond to any comments you may have on that item, which is the consultant ranking for the design of the multipurpose stormwater project.
That's correct, Mr. Treasurer. I don't want to take up any time unless it's necessary. I'm available on that item to speak to that matter.
Thank you very much.
We have no other speakers on agenda items. We do have a couple of speakers for the unagended portion, which will come at the end of our meeting.
Great, thank you. Commissioner, before I call on Commissioner Richardson, we have Commissioner Miller wants to pull item 9.06. So before we move forward with the consent item, we'll take that item. Commissioner Richardson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make a couple of comments about the Senior Citizen Center. You know, as I get older, and I will be 62 years young in October, and retirement becomes even more imminent, certainly those issues become more and more important to me. The quality of life that I will enjoy at retirement and as I age gracefully. And so I want to make sure that all of those in our community have that same opportunity even now. And don't have to wait for that too much longer. You know, we have chosen as a community to actively recruit seniors to relocate to Tallahassee and Leon County through our Choose Tallahassee initiative. We made a conscious effort as a community to do that, to welcome seniors to Tallahassee and Leon County and to provide the kinds of amenities that will add to their quality of life once they get here. We've gotten national recognition for our efforts. The New York Times, I guess it was, and other national publications have recognized us for our efforts. And so as the word spreads, I think we're going to begin to see more and more seniors choose Tallahassee as the location for them to live out their retirement years. And so I'm real anxious and excited about the new senior center. It will be in November that I could be one of 2 commissioners that's still here, and certainly intend to be an advocate for moving as swiftly as we can forward with this new senior citizen center. And so I want to thank all of you all that have come today to speak on behalf of that item. I want to especially thank Ashley Edwards and her staff with Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Affairs for the job that they do, and Sheila and her staff at the current senior center. I've been around Tallahassee long enough to see that facility evolve from a National Guard armory to a roller skating rink, and now to our senior center. It's obviously the building is old. It does serve its purpose now, but we can do better here in Tallahassee. We've got to do better. We must do better in providing a facility that all of us can be proud of when it comes to providing services for our senior citizens. So again, I want to thank all of you all that came out this afternoon, and you can count on my support for this initiative going forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that, Mayor Pro Tem. Commissioner Miller, on point of consent or?
Commissioners, I just would like to hear more from staff on exactly what the thinking was behind the proposal and how they came to the conclusions that this was the appropriate approach to take.
Great. City Manager.
And with that, I'll move consent on.
Great. Accepting that item.
Yes.
Great. There's a motion and a second to approve consent, except for item 9.06. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. City Manager.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I can give an overview if I need some help. Our senior financial analyst is with me tonight as well, David Wheeler. The contract in question that we're asking to extend with St. Joe, it involves the reclaimed or reuse water that is used for the Southwood Golf Course. They were the first user of that service. They preceded any kind of structured rate. In fact, it's under a different kind of delivery. It's not under pressure. It's placed in the pond. It's used for irrigation of the golf course. It was at a very low rate to begin with. We're at the point that that 10-year agreement's expiring. The rate that is in place is somewhat different than what rate is offered for much smaller users of the service under pressure, kind of like potable water use. This is a different character. We find ourselves in the need to kind of transition them into that permanent rate. That's what this contract does. It starts migrating the rate that's in place today over the next, I believe it is 5 years, into the full rack rate, if you will. So that's the logic behind it. It keeps it going. It recognizes the uniqueness of the service and the history that began in 2008.
Well, one of the questions I had was that I know that we're anxious to find receiver opportunities for reclaimed water, because that means we have a place for it to go as opposed to on the land by the airport. And so I was wondering why you decided to raise them to the rate or not. And I'm glad to see the over 5 years. I can understand that. But given the fact that, is this the same price that everybody pays for reclaimed water? And how does that differ from, and forgive me if I don't know the rate that we pay, all of us pay for potable water, but what is that?
David will help me with the exact rates. The reuse water is at a rate less than potable water, which kind of stands to reason.
Right.
It's somewhere just above $1 per 1,000 gallons. Potable water is, David, help me with the potable water rate. Somewhere around $1.50, $1.75, and I apologize.
$1.70 for commercial service, I'm sorry, it's $2.03 for commercial potable water. The current reuse rate is $1.10, I believe. So what they're paying now is
55, something like that.
It's $1.15, so they're paying less than half the current
right.
ordinance rate right now.
And that price was predicated on volume delivery.
Right.
And we did work directly with St. Joe on this. They understood that eventually they had to be migrated to the full rate, but we wanted a mechanism to do it. They understand that. I think they're fully supportive of that 5-year transition. So that was the logic that went into it.
Now, is that rate equal to what other golf courses in the community are paying?
I can speak to that.
What are the other golf courses in the community paying, and how many of them are involved in accepting reuse water?
I can speak to that, Commissioner. No other golf course is using reuse water. Other golf courses either use, in the case of the city-zoned golf course, Heileman, it's stormwater that's used. There's a stormwater pond that serves to collect the stormwater from the area. Water is withdrawn from that pond and placed on the course, so it's very environmentally friendly. Other courses use wells. They direct withdrawal from the aquifer. It's very expensive to use potable water, treated potable water on golf courses, so that's not very commonplace.
Okay. Well, I know that we have to have recipients for the reclaimed water, and I think that that's a consideration that is important to note.
Yes, ma'am. We agree, and I think this forges a continued partnership with the Southwood Golf Course so that they continue to use reuse water, which is environmentally friendly. It does give us a place to spray that water so that we don't put it on our spray field. And I think this contract does that. So
what are our efforts to try to involve, say, for example, Seminole is getting ready, they're right next to the sewage treatment plant, and they're about to be redesigned. So do you anticipate they're going to be able to work something out to take some reclaimed water also over there?
I don't expect they will. I would love for them to, but they have access to a well, which is at a lower cost, and as long as they have permit access to that, I suspect they will continue to do that.
All right. Well, if you can work on that, I think that would be an important one to talk to. And the others too, I mean, I think, well, Summerbrook might be a long stretch because it's a long way up there, but the ones that, I mean, Capital City, you know, they're close. And water is a very important commodity, pure, clean water, and to just use it when you could use reuse. This is a perfect place to put reuse water. So I'd like to see you all really redouble your efforts to try to encourage the other golf courses to become involved. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And with
Great.
that,
Is there
I'll
a
move the
motion?
item.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Excuse me. Commissioners, we're now on to item 11.01. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Great.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Item 11.02.
Move the item.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. 11.03.
Move approval of the appointments.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, and I just want to, I think, acknowledge that I think all three appointees are here in the room. Mr. Chris Dudley, Bill Moore is up for reappointment, as is Chairman Dudley, Elizabeth Emanuel, and also Slayton Murray. You may be the youngest member, Slayton, of the DEIA, and obviously Director Paige Carter-Smith. There's a motion and a second on the item. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, we're now on item 13.0 run. City Manager.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, it's my privilege to introduce this item. I think we have a lot of excitement in the room. I appreciate the comments earlier. And you have identified the construction of an additional, and I underscore that additional, a second senior center as a priority. A new facility is scheduled or is included in the funding of the 2020 blueprint list of projects, as well as funding for the design of the facility is included in the proposed 2019 capital budget, so that we can move forward quickly on that matter. And I think we hear full support of that tonight. We want to keep you updated. We don't want this to fall off the radar. We want to make sure you know what's going on, where we stand, and continue the enthusiasm that we have to add facilities not only for our seniors, but generally in our parks and recreation programs and overall quality of life. Sheila Salyer, our senior services manager, is here, and she's going to give us a progress report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Gillum, commissioners, manager, and staff. Thank you all. I'm not sure I need to say a whole lot more, but I do want to tell you what we've done and where we think we're headed. So we're off to a running start there with our, sometimes with our senior games, all right, which Commissioner Richardson can be one of those. He helped us with the torch again this year. So just to review our mission, we do a lot of this. We celebrate active living. We encourage optimal aging, and we promote social fitness, which we probably do better than anybody in the country, as you can see from some of the folks here today and some of the pictures. And I will just confirm that, yes, we're overflowing. You've heard that already. We have 180 different activities a month, 5,000 people a month come through the doors, and about 500 people a day doing all kinds of different activities in all of our spaces. So we've been kind of watching the trends over the years. This is a 2016 map of our census of people age 60 and over. You see in the shaded areas that this is the people where the most people are that are 60 and over, both in volume and density. And that's in our northeast side of town, where we also don't have a community center or a senior center right now. So fortunately, we are going to be in that quadrant of town right there on Willani Boulevard, just past Fleshman, not too far outside of Capitol Circle Northeast. We're going to be in the new canopy development. Premier Construction is donating 5 acres in that development right in the heart of it. It's a great piece of property right there on Willani Boulevard and Education Way. And we're right down the street from the new targeted active living 55 plus community that will be coming.
Could I ask something?
Please,
Yes.
Sheila, on that slide, you have a, could you go back? So you're at the star, right?
Yes.
So what's the, you're going to have a, are you going to be able to have a a nice pathway that connects the neighborhood over here with the senior center?
My understanding is it's all going to be walkable there. There are large paths there that connect everything in there, and also will connect to the Miccosukee Greenway.
Good. And so how far is that, do you suppose?
I don't know for sure, but it's probably a quarter to a half mile,
Good.
maybe.
Okay, good. That's what I want to know. Thank you very much.
Don't quote me on that.
It's all right. I'm sure most of us, we want everyone to be able to make it back and forth.
Yeah,
That's
okay, that's right. So we, as you said, was funded by the percentage of the city sales tax extension funds on the 5 acres donated by Premier Construction, and design money is being requested in the FY19 capital budget. And this is a recent picture of this is the corner piece looking from Education Way, kind of southeast, and down here is Woodlawney Boulevard going east-west. So it's a nice piece of property right there.
Ooh, I have another question. So my understanding is that when the road's built to the site, and I would assume this means the road's built to the site, correct?
The pavement ends right here at it's Woodlawney Boulevard and Education Way. The pavement goes right there right now.
Right, and this is the site we're looking at, correct?
Yes.
So, in fact, the road is to the site, and so the clock will, if not already, begin ticking for our period of time that we have to have this done, or it reverts back, correct? Isn't that 7 years?
I think it's 7 years.
Okay.
And I think the road has to be continued down the other corner there.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah. Which they're moving pretty quickly there.
Looks like it.
So what we've been doing, we've been trying to get feedback and input from our advisory councils, our boards, our local aging network. We've had 11 different meetings. We invited all of our user groups in. These are all the different activity groups that we have at the center right now. We had over 200 attend these meetings. We've also distributed paper copy surveys throughout the center to all the activities and groups, and we also did an online survey that went to over 6,000 email recipients. We got over 400 responses back from that. Here's what we've been hearing and some of the things that we've been collecting along the way. I don't think it comes to a surprise to anybody that parking is at the top of everybody's list. I remind them, though, that everybody's still not going to be able to park next to the front door. It just kind of won't work that way, but we would like more parking, more generous handicap, mobility challenge parking. If people can walk, then maybe they can park a little farther from the building. But parking was definitely a big issue. People want to make sure that we are state-of-the-art technology. We have enhanced security system inside and out. We have laptop stations. And we continue to have smartphone and tablet classes. And we have some participants that take those classes over and over again, like Miss Edna Owens here. And we can proudly say that she's learned to text. So I have proof of that now. So
you need to put her in charge of parking up front, because at Gilchrist Elementary, you are not allowed to break the parking rules.
Okay.
Living proof of that.
Our new parking attendant. There you go. That's all we need. They want to make sure that we have accessibility plus more than the minimum ADA requirements. That we have a hearing loop like we have here in the city commission chambers, like we have in our auditorium. Everywhere we have a microphone, we need to have the hearing loop. That we're on a bus route. It came up in one of our sessions that Commissioner Ziffer was in, the possibility of a shuttle bus that would run from North Monroe to Woodlawney Boulevard, where people could go back and forth to the activities they were interested in.
Yeah, that actually came up from several people, and there was also some discussion that sits, if you can visualize the shuttle route from North Monroe, it would be 6th Avenue to Magnolia, then Magnolia down Centerville and out, which is also where most of our healthcare facilities are, many of our doctors' offices, and so there's actually a good possibility and a good need for some type of bus connectivity between the two. That would be used more for than just getting back and forth, but also for what sits in between.
We also heard that being aesthetically pleasing and welcoming was very important. This is, a lot of people talk about wanting quiet areas to sit and read. I know that sounds kind of unusual, that you're going to come to the senior center and then you want to sit in a quiet area, but I learned at our national conference it's actually kind of a trend for people, that a lot of people across the country who are building centers are seeing the same request. I think it speaks to the issue of the negative impact of social isolation and loneliness, a lot of the new research that's coming out on that, and people don't want to be home alone. They want to be out among people, among their friends, even if it is to sit quietly. They want senior-friendly and comfortable seating, lots of natural lighting. They want to be sure we still have a place for them to show their art, hang their art exhibits, and we can still host receptions there. Family caregiver restrooms that make it just easier for people to come and be comfortable. Additional amenities, we got a lot of feedback on indoor heated swimming and exercise pool. Although this is not on our priorities right now, we have a lot of other priority needs for space to accommodate the activities that we have right now. It was something that we needed to note, that a lot of people seem to be interested in that. We'll come back and revisit our outdoor recreation space and sitting areas once we have a better idea of what our footprint will look like. So we're looking at proposing about 60,000 square feet. Part of that will be a lifelong learning center, and I'll go through some of the spaces that people said were important to them. And the other part would be an adult recreation center with a gymnasium. We're in about 25,000, just over 25,000 square feet right now. And as everybody said, we're packed in there. So we've been gathering images of just different centers and places across the country we think look attractive. So this is an OPC center in Rochester, Michigan. That's a very vibrant center. Its programming's real similar to ours.
Would you tell them what the acronym OPC stands for?
And actually, the OPC Center, which is why I guess they went to OPC, actually stands for Older Persons Commission. So, but I think
that's what Commissioner Richardson presents.
But just like us with the Senior Center name, it doesn't seem to be keeping people away. So they are doing very well there. We are also, there's a really nice Salvation Army Center in Greenville, South Carolina that's actually a community center, but has some great spaces. And then this is a fairly new center in Salt Lake County in Utah. Wow. The Lifelong Learning Center, we want one big entry that has a covered entryway that people come into. And then people talked about kind of what their order of preference. They want classroom space. Lifelong learning is one of our fastest growing amenities. This is just a sample classroom, but does anybody notice what's not in the middle of that classroom that we have at the Senior Center?
Poles.
Nice big concrete poles. So we really want a clear view. We're not proposing concrete poles in the middle of the rooms. A Senior Center for the Art. Our art is one of the best education arts in this community, and they still very, very popular there. The Conference Center, we're looking at a conference center space, and I'll get to it in a second, but and a separate cards and game space. It doesn't have to be shared, where we can actually bring in perhaps our state and our national Senior Center conferences, caregiver conferences, foster grandparent, senior companion, volunteer trainings, things like that the community will use, and we can offer workshops and symposiums without having to bump all of our other activities to be able to have a function like this. Wellness Center, we've met with several of our partners. Dr. Pomador and Dr. T are here today with the College of Medicine, and we've met with their group. We've met with Kaiser, with FAMU. We hope to meet with some of our other health and wellness partners to really look at a unique interdisciplinary wellness center that will have some different things, some cutting edge kinds of things offered there. A cards and game space, right now, we play, they play, anywhere they can find a table and a space to put it up. Here you see the canasta and mahjong, canasta in the art studio, mahjong in the auditorium, along with table tennis at the same time, and they've just rotated out senior singers or line dance. So those folks have been sharing space for many years now. And bridge, as Kelvin talked about, is in the cafeteria every day. And you can see there's a good example of those poles that we can live without. So we're looking at dedicated cards and game space. It's a little bigger than the dining room space we have now that can be divided, where multiple cards and games can be going on at the same time. People were interested in cafe and gathering spaces to come and hang out. A music studio, and these classrooms can be shared spaces, but specific things in a particular classroom that would be unique and be able to accommodate our ukulele and our guitar classes. Wide hallways and high ceilings for good circulation. And then the second part of the center, another 30,000 square feet, would be this multi-purpose gymnasium. People were real excited about an indoor walking track. And this walking track, again, is at the OPC Center. It's up above the gymnasium. That would be shared space, shared court space. For, obviously, pickleball. Make sure we can accommodate, we're hoping 6 to 8 pickleball courts so people don't have to wait. There have to be conflicts and things like that. Table tennis is also very popular, and we'll get our basketball shooting in too. A senior fitness center was also very popular. This is actually one of our power lifters in our senior games, and this center is specific to senior fitness. It's actually over at Advent Christian Village at Dowling Park. So we're looking forward to that. A lot of interest in that. So here we are. This is it. You can see we do need to bring on kind of an architect to fix my drawings. There you go.
Is this the scale?
Wait till you see the gymnasium. So this was just trying to put all the different spaces together, so when we get the architect and the design on board, they can help us piece things together in a functional and appropriate way. But this kind of represents the different spaces that we're looking at. And then this little tiny gym next to it is obviously not to scale. So, but it was a start and gives us an idea. So our next steps, again, funding requests in the capital budget for design. We'll have a lot more input sessions, getting feedback from our organizations, other stakeholders in the community. Construction sometime in 20-something, a grand opening sometime in 20-something, and sometime I'm going to retire, and let's hope it's in this order. That's what we would really like. So we're at the point where we are going strong. We're not messing around. We're ready to go, as you heard from a lot of our folks. And we really appreciate your support, and it's been a pleasure and a joy to continue to take this journey. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much, Sheila. I may not be here, but I definitely have a name for this new center. You are an exceptional leader of these services. It's evident in every time I've ever visited the facilities. It's evident in the strong showing of folks who every time there's an opportunity to come out and advocate for more dedicated services for the aging. This is the kind of place that, I hope to be a little ways off, but you're painting, I think, a vision that people want to see themselves in.
Right.
And we thank you for that.
Well, that's what it's all about. We want to leave this for us and the generations coming behind us.
Great. Commissioner Richardson?
Sheila, just a quick question. In your schematic, did you anticipate maybe space for a clinic?
Well, We don't know what the wellness center part will look like yet, and that's with our partners. I think we'll come together, and we talked about them doing some joint ventures in that space.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, Sheila, if everyone that comes to the senior center were to vote on the name of the next senior center, I guarantee you, I mean, you are probably one of the most popular people amongst your constituency of anybody, including your commission. I'm sure they would all vote for you. So
appreciate that, but we
best
don't,
of luck
we don't have to go there right now. And
you're still working. So
I get to vote too, right? My vote
Yes,
counts
you do.
more than the other votes too.
Well, I think that just the goal of getting all this done before you do retire is a good goal, but just as a point in time for everybody. But remember, we do have that deadline on that piece of property out there, so we have to get this done.
Right.
That said, you had a picture of the current senior center, which I think is just one of the most wonderful buildings that we have in town, and it is really neat to be in there. And I've skated there. When I first came, it was still a skate rink and wasn't very even, but still.
Yeah.
And to know that it's been repurposed and is just full of life now, the way that it probably was in the past too, is a wonderful thing. So I'm hoping that there's no intention of cutting back on that one. I mean, we need two.
not.
We don't need just one that's bigger and better. No. And the history there for many, many, many people, especially in the age of the people that are served, is really important. So
absolutely, we agree with you. There's things that will stay in that building that are there's not the new space is not going to be designed for, like that beautiful wood floor. It's the greatest dance floor all across the Panhandle. So there'll be activities and things that will still be there. That'll still be very important to a lot of different people. But then we'll also be able to maybe bring in some things that we haven't had room for, like a lot of other workshops and community meetings and things like that we haven't had space for in the last few years.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, talk about feeling senior. I remember when you got hired.
You were there for our 20th anniversary.
Yes, ma'am.
Which was 20 years ago.
It has flown. Time has flown. Yes. You've done a fantastic job, and I'm ready to go on this. I want to fast track it. I'd like to see it happen just as quickly as possible. We've got a pent-up need, and you're doing a fantastic job serving folks that you serve today, but this is a long time coming, so I'm going to do everything I can. I'm sure the commission will as well to make this happen as quickly as possible.
Thank you. And I want to say I don't do this alone. This is not a one-person shop thing. I have a tremendous team and support, and with our foundation, advisory council, and our staff. I think it's second to none across the country. And we've visited a lot of centers across the country, and we probably program better than any of them.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Commissioner Ziffer.
As you know, I have a personal attachment because my mom loved coming to the senior center a lot.
I almost showed that picture.
And so this is something that clearly many of you have been working on for a long time, and not as much recently, but my visitations earlier, I could see the need. So I know that I guess in our budget cycle we're going to be talking about design. The quicker we get a design, the quicker we can get it started. I think you have consensus among all of us. Of course, there'll be a new commission here in November, but the more things we can do now to get this ball rolling, the better off we are, and I'm certainly behind that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Sheila, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Ashley as well, and the team at Parks and Rec. City Manager. We accept the report?
Yes, sir. We're just asking you to accept the report tonight.
All right.
Happily.
Yep. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to accept staff's report. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes
Under
unanimously.
1302.
There's a motion to approve 13.02.
Discussion. Just a quick
Commissioner Maddox, for conversation.
Mr. Manager, is it full cost recovery on behalf of the taxpayers of the city of Tallahassee with Florida State University paying the full cost of operating the buses and the buses themselves?
Yes, sir, Commissioner. This contract, the 10-year term represents full cost recovery of not only the buses, but the maintenance of the buses, the operation of the buses, labor, fuel. In this case, it's electric. We're pretty excited about that, and we're pleased to partner with FSU. In fact, I'd like to acknowledge Matt Inman. He's the Director of Transit Services for FSU. He's here tonight. We've had a long partnership with FSU on many different things. In this case, we're so proud to be able to continue to work with them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miller.
Well, I did get one letter that had a question about the city's ability to manage and run electric buses. And so I think it's important to point out that we have the largest electric bus fleet in the country right now, which is only, I believe, 5 buses, but still the largest in the country. So our staff does have experience in taking care of, running, managing, recharging, taking care of recharging stations, all of the above that are related to electric buses. This city has the staff that is able to support that effort, so no concerns there.
Great. There's a motion and a second on the item. Anything from staff on this?
We're good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Item 13.03 has been deleted, Commissioners. We're now on to item 13.04, Public Safety Update. City Manager.
Sir, thank you. This Public Safety Update item provides an update on the Public Safety Campus land acquisition, which was an RFP process. We're seeking your approval of that ranking tonight. We also are going to provide a crime stat update. We've been doing that consistently over the last year or so. We want to make sure you're informed of the progress we're making in fighting crime. And clearly the public safety campus that we've talked so much about plays into that long-run strategy. So we're seeking your approval to negotiate for the land with the highest-ranked vendor. That's part of our discussion. But we also want to paint the picture of what it will entail. We use the word campus or complex. We are purposefully using terms like that because this will be more than a police station. Assistant City Manager Cynthia Barber is here to discuss that. She's also joined by Chief DeLeo to share the crime stats, and she's also joined by Andre LeBroth. He's our Procurement Services Manager, and he can add to the conversation. Cynthia?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners and appointed officials. I thank you for the opportunity to provide today's public safety update. As you know, the Tallahassee Police Department is committed to community policing philosophy. And in doing so, we are seeking a facility to better implement that in our community, one that will engage the community, that puts the PD in the position of having proactive, open communication and engagement with the community. You authorized us back in February to pursue a public safety campus by acquiring land in a geographical area which is defined in the picture up front. You had directed us to seek proposals in the area of South Monroe and the Orange Avenue corridor. We established a team to review the needs of the proposals for the public safety complex, and I'll review that with you today. But also just want to remind the public who are listening of the reason we're moving. It's not simply to provide a more adequate space for police operations, but this is with a very intentful purpose of creating those relationships, those opportunities in a community where we believe not only we can build better relationships, but also where the PD will have services that can be utilized by the public, will have facilities that are open to the public. We envision a playground space, again, to create that opportunity for engagement with youth. We know how important it is to do that at an early age, so to be able to have that interaction there. Also, the opportunity to perhaps become a regional training facility for services that we now send officers out of our community to receive that training. And then additionally, recognizing the importance of neighborhoods in addressing public safety in this community, the facility would provide space for use by neighborhood organizations. When we established the committee to review the request for proposal, it was important not only to have the appropriate staff and expertise from the agency involved in the process, but also to create an opportunity to engage, again, the public in every step of the project, including site location of the property, of the project. So included on the team was Chief Michael DeLeo, who served as the chairman of the committee. We had the city's engineer, Steve Schaefer, on the project, on the review committee, Cherie Bryant, our planning director, John Baker, who is the manager of the neighborhood affairs area. Again, a very active team that we've implemented to engage our community, and also not just engaging them, but also engaging them as it relates to public safety. And I think you'll be pleased to hear some of the work that they're doing, which we'll bring at another update. We also had Major Annie Marie Johnson from the Tallahassee Police Department on the RFP committee, and then Wanda Ford from Florida A&M University. And we thought it was important to include them because, as you know, the master plan for Florida A&M University includes expanding to an area would be co-located to the area that we're looking to place the public safety campus. So we thought it was important to get their input in the process. And then, of course, we have a very active and engaged citizen who's on the committee, Ms. Jackie Perkins, who not only is active in all aspects of what we do in this organization, but also she's involved in the Bond and Southside community specifically, and she heads the Public Safety Action Committee for the Bond community, where they're working with the neighborhood affairs to establish priorities for that community. And one of the priorities identified for the Bond community, and we've been working with them on, is the area of public safety. So they were involved in the committee. Okay, we received 3 proposals. Oh, in addition to that, before I go into the actual proposals, I wanted to share with you and remind everyone that we were also asked to look at Jack McLean as a potential location for the public safety campus. While it was not ranked along with the other proposals, staff did review it, and based on the review of it, there were some issues that were identified by the committee. The site has about 50 acres of property. The majority of the park amenities, which are now about 20 acres of that property, would require us to build on the eastern portion of the site. And in terms of the topography of that area, there's some concern about like a 60-foot drop in that area. It also abuts low-density single-family neighborhoods. It provides less vehicular access than we would get in the proposed sites, which would give us access in at least one case to 2 major roadways. It also would disturb the park activity that's that already occurs at what we believe is one of our very active parks.
And it's wooded.
Yes, I knew you would pick up on that one. It would require us to deforest in some respect, and we would have some concern with that. The 3 proposals that we received. Now, this is the hardest part of my presentation, is using this thing. And see what I told you? Will you get it back on for me? We received 3 proposals. One was from the College Town Rentals. It's the small portion shown in blue there. It doesn't meet our space requirements, our spatial needs, so we really couldn't evaluate that. It was like 1.175 of an acre, and we were seeking at least no more than 15, but we certainly need at least 12 acres or so to build the property, to build the facility on. The second was the Inner Harbor Partners, or Grateful Solutions proposal. They propose approximately 14 acres. It's the area shown here in purple. And the greatest advantage of the site is that there is an ease to acquisition. We could close on the property in approximately 60 days. The concerns for that location is that the property is split by 2 major roads. It's split by Meridian, and which is a major road. Then it's split by Texas, which is a major artery, a corridor for that neighborhood. So we would be concerned about that. But also the shape of the parcel and the distance spread would create a disjointed facility which runs contrary to what we're seeking to do by building a more comprehensive, cohesive facility where there's ease of interaction with the public. It also, because of the linear configuration, it makes it more difficult for us to build the type campus that we are interested in building on the site. Additionally, the property is almost entirely in the floodplain, and although we have a ditch project plan for that area, that project would not solve all of the floodplain issues that we would have on the site. The parcels in the middle with the stripes, the purple and the stripes, those properties are not yet obtained by Inner Harbor, so we wouldn't have access to those. And then there would be some demolition costs for some of the buildings. And then also, it just moves too far into the neighborhood. One of the things we want to do is to respect the neighborhoods that will be located near. And we think that this particular plan just pushes too closely and too far into the neighborhoods. The other area shown in the gray is the property that we are proposing for the project, and it's offered by NAI Talcor. They submitted one proposal with two alternatives. The base proposal was for 12.3 acres for $5.5 million, and the cost of the previous one, I want to give you that, was for the 14 acres was $1.6 million. That site includes a shopping center and then the second one, which we'll have procurement talk to you about our procurement process. The second alternative included the gray area plus some portion of the proposal from Gray Solutions in the purple. And we'll talk to you more, Andre will talk more to you about the position of the committee and how they handled that part of the review, since that an issue was raised about that. We want you to understand the process that was utilized. The pros for the Talco site are that it's a comprehensive proposal. There's an option to maintain the business, which we viewed as favorable. The owners of the property are amenable to trade-in property, which would allow us to perhaps reduce the amount of cash that we would have to pay for the property. Then there's the access and location configuration, which is much more preferable. We have access off of two main roads, which is very helpful for the PD, and we believe necessary. It is also not in the floodplain area. It has impervious areas, which would impact the amount of work would have to be done or reduce the amount of work that would have to be done related to stormwater. Then the campus could also include shops, which in that area would have enough space to do that. And then this area that's identified is consistent with what the Urban Land Institute had identified in their plan when they were looking for ideas to provide a rebirth to that area. And they also identified it not only as that area, but a potential purpose, which is very consistent with what we have identified. The cons for that site is that the businesses are in place. Some of them have leases. If they were all to stay in place, it would reduce the 12 acres that would be available for the public safety campus. Then the other disadvantage is that construction would have to be phased, which it can be managed, but it would have to be phased in order to deal with the existing businesses. There's a financial impact for leases and demolition, which will need to be resolved during negotiations. But based on the totality of the proposals and the goals we have for the public safety campus, staff does recommend for your consideration and approval the NAI Talcor proposal. At this time, unless you have specific questions for me, I'd like to ask Andrew and Andre LeBroff, if he would come forth and discuss the procurement process, and after that, Chief DeLeo, who is the chairperson, can respond to specific questions for the committee if you have them, and provide the crime and statistics update.
Yep. Commissioner Richardson?
Ms. Barber, a couple of questions before we go to procurement. Would you all be able to give us, or at what point would you all be able to give us the cost of buying out the leases?
Wayne, I know, well, it'll be, if you give us authorization today, we would start the discussion and negotiations and determine, where are you? Oh, over there.
'Cause I think that's going to be important for us to know as
Commissioners, I think it would really depend on when you're ready to start building down in that area. So that would be best guess 2 to 3 years before anyone would have to move out.
Okay.
So we would need to see when we're ready for construction in those particular areas, how we can move those folks in and around that shopping center over time. It may be that we could strategize a way where we don't have to pay out leases over any length of time.
Okay.
But there may be cases where we do. So when we're in the negotiations, we're going to have to figure that out. We'll buy the property as is, and then we'll have to deal with the leases after the purchase of the property.
Sorry, but in, okay. Go ahead. Oh, it's just, in your due diligence to bring this recommendation forward, we don't know what the terms of the leases are of the current occupants?
We do have some of that information available. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd like to have at least an idea of
I would too.
What that's going to add to the cost.
Okay.
If we can have that. Also, does the plan in any way involve the out parcel where the Wendy's restaurant is, or would it not impact that establishment at all?
No, it doesn't include the Wendy's site.
Okay. Okay. And then lastly, if some of the businesses are forced to relocate, I would like to encourage us, if at all possible, and I know sometimes it may be difficult to do, but to encourage them to remain on the south side of Tallahassee, if we can find them, because they are important to the neighborhoods that they serve in the surrounding area.
Absolutely, and Commissioner Richardson, that brings up another issue. We really anticipate with taking 600 new employees who don't work in that area to that area, there'd be not only a need for those businesses, but a greater need for more businesses, support for grocery, prescriptions, gas for your vehicles, and eventually housing consideration for people who may have to travel further to get to work now. But, yeah, we certainly will be taking all of that under consideration.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank
you, Ms. Barber.
Mayor, Commissioners, because you received concerns regarding the scoring process, I wanted to take a moment this afternoon to explain how the City of Tallahassee scores proposals from a base and alternative perspective, and explain some of the reasons for the recommended approval. The solicitation went out in April. We had a normal question and answer period of time, at which time questions did come in regarding our acceptance of proposals with multiple options. When the bids come in, before bids are released to the evaluation committee, we ensure that there's no conflict of interest between the evaluators and the respondents, and that they've been trained, they understand their duties, and what it means as it relates to prohibitive communication, scoring, and how questions are addressed during the evaluation process. Evaluators, when they get started on their evaluation process, they independently score and review the technical components of a solicitation. In this solicitation, they looked at things like the location of the properties, the surrounding land use, the shape and size of the site, ease of expansion, and developmental considerations. As Mrs. Barber explained, we had representation from a variety of city departments and perspectives and different organizations. So each evaluator brings their own experiences and interpretations to what they feel makes the best evaluation and the best proposal. Whenever we're dealing with the scoring of proposals that have a base or a main proposal as well as an alternative, evaluators are instructed to evaluate the base because we never know if an alternative may be exercised. And as an organization or a proposer makes a proposal to the city or a different municipality, they're asked to give their best proposal as their base proposal, because one of the tenets of procurement, especially public procurement, is that you only get one bid. You only get one chance to propose. Organizations cannot propose more than once to give all the different options that they'd like to give, which is why we score the technical components on the base component, and then we score the cost for the base and all of the different options. Once our scores are accumulated and we have a cost for the base and a cost for the alternatives, those associated points are given back to the evaluation chair, the committee, and the sponsoring department so that they can make a recommendation to you in today's City Commission agenda item as to what they feel best meets their needs, their budget, and their planned use of the goods or services, or in this case, property. Any questions?
Any questions on that process, Commissioners? Seeing none, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask you just a quick question? And I apologize. It's not for you. I apologize for not getting this information in advance. Could someone, maybe City Manager, the expanded CRA boundaries, where does that follow along here? Can somebody answer that question?
I can't off the top of my head, sir. But we can get you that information.
That'd be great. Thank you.
It's in very close proximity. Michael, can you help me with that?
Yes, this is actually within the existing CRA boundaries. The expansion took it farther east.
All the way over to the department campus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's right.
Good evening. Unless there's specific questions about this process, I'm going to move on to the crime stats and the
Thank
crime
you.
update. Okay, so, again, we're very fortunate to continue to be able to report that crime is down. We are on pace right now to have a third consecutive year violent crime going down by double digits. Through the end of April, violent crime is down 15% in our community. That's a lot of good work done community-wide with our partner agencies, and as we see with the efforts being made in Bond and some other neighborhoods, really with our neighborhoods getting very actively involved and partnering with not just TPD, but all our other agencies and getting really actively involved and voicing their concerns. Through April, overall crime is down 5% compared to last year. So we're continuing to build on that 5-year low that we experienced last year, and actually are right now on pace to even go below that. So we're continuing to make those improvements and build on the successes that we've had, and continue to really monitor the data, make sure that we're putting the resources in the right place, and continuing our relationships with everybody else and moving forward. There's a few summaries of some cases. Again, those are just a very small percentage of the work that gets done, and they continue to highlight the work that gets done proactively, but really, again, the focus on weapons, narcotics, and quality of life concerns. You see very neighborhood-based, these activities, the enforcement activities, the investigations, the people that are listed, you'll see several of them have possession of firearms by convicted felons, so they're not new people, unfortunately, involved in the system or in crime. So again, we've talked a lot about making sure we focus on the right areas and specifically on the right people, and we continue to work with our partner agencies with doing that. And again, the most important part that certainly over the last 5 years and even going further back is our community engagement. You've got a list of dates and events there. Summertime is a lot of fun for us too, because we really get to really partner with Ashley at Parks and Recreation Neighborhood and Fairs and all the youth programs that we've done. We just partnered with the mayor, the Future Leaders Academy, and had a day out there with the fire department and the police department, and not only did some presentations and communications and kind of team building with the kids, but we also some fun events too, where they got to play games with each other, and that relationship building that we keep talking about will just pay so many dividends in the future. Operation Safe Neighborhoods kicked off last week, or we had our first one in the Bond community. Next Thursday night, we'll be over in the Town and Country area off of Old Bainbridge Road. That we'll have 6 scheduled for this summer. And then our Splash and Jams, we're running 3 Youth Citizens Police Academies this summer. Our Defy Camp starts in July, as well as our leadership program, our Tax Students program for high school students. And then one thing that's new that is not on there, we will have a swearing-in ceremony for 12 new officers next Friday morning. They graduated the academy about a week and a half ago, and we weren't sure the date when we prepared the update, but that's scheduled for next Friday morning. So with your support, we're continuing to fill those additional positions that you got us. And then we will have 7 new candidates start the police academy the first week of July. So we're continuing to fill those vacancies and actively recruit, not just in our community, but really around our region.
That's excellent, Chief. Thank you to yourself, to the command staff, to excuse me, obviously the line officers as well, and to Ms. Barber and the collective. Excellent work. You all are moving, aggressively and steadily, and I believe in the right direction. So thank you for that. Commissioner Richardson, followed by Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 things. It bothered me recently when I heard a political party leader say that Tallahassee was one of the most dangerous cities in the state to live. I don't know what cloud he's been living under, but obviously he has not heard this good news and the efforts that we have put into addressing that issue over the past several years under your leadership, Chief, and we certainly do appreciate that. I'm sure all of the citizens of the city of Tallahassee and Leon County generally appreciate those efforts and that they are bearing fruit. And we see every year now that the crime statistics are going down, particularly the violent crimes and property crimes. And so I would hope that our local media would help us continue to get that the true picture of what's happening in our community out, so that all of our citizens do feel safe and know that this is a top priority for us at all levels of the organization. The other thing that I want to mention is that last week I did have the pleasure of being a part of our first Operation Safe Neighborhoods walk through the Bond community. I think we probably had a record turnout that evening. Lots of folk were there, students, many persons from the neighborhood were there, and the neighbors were very receptive to our being there in their community and appreciated the fact that we would take out of our time to be there and address crime issues in the community. So it's working. That's one of our tools that's helping to engage the neighbors and neighborhoods, and I can tell you it's working and getting even more popular. So, Chief, thank you for all the work that you do in leading that effort.
Thank you. I'll move option 1.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on option 1. Commissioner Maddox.
I won't belabor this, but I'm going to vote against the motion. I realize that the points that were brought forward by the committee as to not selecting Jack McLean Park are relevant, but in my mind, the topographic change can be overcome by the $5.5 million that we'll save by using our own property rather than purchasing land. It abuts a low-density single-family neighborhood, as does our current police department. And it doesn't provide a level of vehicle access, but ingress and egress are certainly there, and by $5.5 million, we can build more ingress and egress. In addition, I believe we would save more money on the construction side because we would not need to construct a playground or basketball courts or swimming pools or any of those other things that we already have on a 50-acre park. So I'll vote against it.
Commissioners, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. No. Motion passes 3-2. Commissioners, we're now.
I'm sorry.
I also voted against.
Okay.
Commissioners, we're now at item 13.05.
Mayor, I need to declare the appearance of a conflict on this item, so I'm going to be leaving the room.
Understand. Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on staff's recommendation. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, we are actually going to stand in a bit of a break for the time being, and we'll reconvene in time for public hearings. convene the public hearing, beginning with item 15.01. City Attorney.
Item 15.01 is first and only public hearing on ordinance number 18-0-18, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending section 14-3.302, 14-3.304, 14-3.305, 14-3.306, 14-3.307, 14-3.310, 14-3.316, 14-3.317, 14-3.319, 14-3.325, and 14-3.331 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Tallahassee relating to police employees' pension provisions and contributions, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
There are no speakers on this item, Mayor.
No speakers. There is a motion. A second to approve. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. We're now on to item 15.02.
Item number 15.02 is the first and only public hearing on resolution number 18-R-21, a resolution abandoning Joshua Court, a 3.5-foot-long cul-de-sac roadway consisting of 0.61 acres located south of McClay Commerce Drive and east of Thomasville Road in the City of Tallahassee, Leon County, Florida.
Mayor, there is one speaker on this item. That is Warren Emo.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Emo?
If you'll give your name and address for the record, we'd appreciate it. You'll have 3 minutes for your remarks.
Okay, Mayor Gillum and Commissioners, my name is Warren Emo. I'm president of Emo Design Build and Emo Architects here in Tallahassee. The address is 1126 Thomasville Road. We are here speaking on behalf of Osaka Japanese Steakhouse, who is the applicant that requested the abandonment of Joshua Court. We've got an illustration up here, a little background. I've been involved with Market Street since 1979. I actually created the concept for Market Street, and I'm so tickled to see what's happening out there. The Osaka restaurant, which is in this exhibit, this is, if I can get let's see, that's McDonald's right here. The proposed location for the Osaka Japanese restaurant is here in a mixed-use office building here. Hopefully the future park will be across the street. The intention is to change that Joshua Court that has a huge cul-de-sac at the end of it now to eliminate what is a kind of an unsafe condition with very random parking, and to clean that up so that it is fully landscaped and actually has a bus and large vehicle parking area for tour buses, recreational vehicles, and some of the other larger vehicles that actually come to McDonald's. So the intention is for the Osaka restaurant to be an urban experience that can be an enhancement to the future park across the street, and to landscape and improve that so that the driveway is not going away. It's just going to be an improved driveway with landscape and other quality improvements. We have been working on the abandonment with McDonald's Corporation and Circle K Corporations and the other affected parties since last September. I actually have in my possession an easement agreement that's already prepared and approved by all of the corporate, high-level corporate level, and McDonald's Corporation and Circle K, who very much support this activity and would like to see it occur. So with that, I'll open it up to answer any questions that you may have.
Mayor.
Commissioner Miller.
Well, Mr. Emo, first of all, I want to thank you and the staff also for addressing all of the concerns I've had with the project, and I think you know them pretty well. What I'd like for you to do, though, is to show me exactly how the buses are going to come in and out, how trucks with possible trailers, folks with working trailers coming in for lunch, how are they going to be accommodated on under the new plan?
Right, two ways. So the area here that I'll try to identify, that is the large vehicle parking zone there. And so the manner in which they can access would be through the driveway here. This driveway is going to be retained just the way it is. So they would be able to drive directly in, and our civil engineers have gone through all of the turning radiuses and everything. So large vehicles, fire trucks, anything that would be a large vehicle would be able to get into and out of that. They can drive in directly or back in. McDonald's Corporation has advance notification for when tour buses come in, so they would actually have someone out there to help in that parking. The rest of the time it would be for the parking the way it is now. The other issue is that the peak hour for Osaka actually is probably after 5:30, probably more or 6 p.m. in the evening. So all of the parking area that is adjacent to the proposed restaurant is going to be really no one parking there during the course of the day. So I think there's going to be actually more parking available for what occurs out there now, which there's a lot of random parking, as we all know, if we all go the back way to McDonald's.
Right, and so now you said that, my understanding is that there's Osaka, even in their own parking during the day, they're going to have places where vehicles with trailers, for example.
Vehicles are going to park there. There's no doubt about that. We've experienced that.
Nobody
I've
will
owned
be
that
towed
property
away.
myself for 13 years. So it does happen.
Right.
And because they're not competing with Osaka patrons, I don't see that that's going to be a problem. And the big issue is that the driveway is going to be maintained. We just are creating a more aesthetically pleasing. And the agreement with McDonald's is that Osaka is going to rebuild that in a nice high-quality level to city standards, and then landscape it and irrigate it, and then perpetually maintain it. So I think it creates a very good stabilizing situation out there to mitigate some of the problems that we have with the cul-de-sac.
All right, and then there's going to be sidewalk in front on McClay Commerce Drive, correct?
Yes, there's going to be a sidewalk all the way on McClay Commerce Drive. The intention for Osaka is to have very significant oriental gardens surrounding the entire restaurant. We want to integrate with, as the boulevard gets to make sure that the walkways and other things are integrated. So this is a complement to what's going to be happening there on the boulevard.
And then the question for staff that I have, on the side of the Circle K and McDonald's, is there a sidewalk on that side of the street?
There is actually an existing sidewalk here that runs the entire distance. So on the Circle K and the I'll put it on this side. See, all the way from McClay Commerce all the way back to the end of where the bus parking, large vehicle parking, there's already existing sidewalks on the east side, and we're proposing to put sidewalks on the west side as well. So it's going to create a much more pedestrian-friendly environment.
I'm excited to see that. I'm just concerned about a snag in the middle of the day. I've expressed that to you, but I think we've discussed it.
Sure,
We'll
yeah,
just have to go
and the
forward
intention
see what we get.
certainly is to maintain accessibility, make sure that large vehicles can get in and out, and that's the assurance that McDonald's and Circle K both wanted as well,
right.
and Osaka. So we think, they're excited about the opportunity. They're a 30-year-old business in Tallahassee. They're bringing a very high level of aesthetic to the site, and I think hopefully it's going to be a very nice complement to what's happening out there.
So what's your timeline?
We are ready to hopefully file for the easement agreement and the environmental permit, if everything happens well today, as early as next week. So we already have the building drawings in for a building permit out of sequence because they're eager to start. So they would like to start within 60 to 45 days.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate your
Thank you very much.
to meet my concerns.
Question.
I have a question to staff.
Commissioner Maddox.
So this will be used for parking for the new businesses going in and ingress and egress? Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Commissioner. That's our understanding, is that the parking related to the new properties would also be available to those that might have otherwise parked on that right-of-way that'll be abandoned. Is that your question?
Right. My question is, why aren't we just selling it to the applicant? Why are we abandoning it?
I think Assistant City Manager Tedder can help me with that. I think there's some regulation wrapped around that.
Yeah, so historically, I've been processing abandonments now for 21 years. We have not, to my knowledge, ever charged a fee for or selling the right-of-way. If you think about it one way, if you put up right-of-way for sale, that sends a message out to the community that any of our roadways are potentially available for sale. In this particular case, you let adjoining property owners, which are the only ones who can ask for an abandonment, come in and make those requests based on certain criteria. Your land development code, I believe in your agenda item, you have about 8 criteria that says we don't do this to benefit a single property owner. We do this, we abandon property or abandon the right-of-way if it's a good thing for the city of Tallahassee. In this particular case, the city of Tallahassee is maintaining a roadway. If you accept the abandonment, the city no longer has to maintain that right-of-way. Additionally, that right-of-way now gets put back on the property tax records, and we start collecting property taxes for that. That is given back to the property owner. So I think a roundabout way of answering your question, at the end of the day, it's going to be taxable property where it hasn't been in the past.
Thank you.
Great. Commissioners, if there are no other questions, there's a motion and a second on the item. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Item 15.03.
Item number 15.03 is the first and only public hearing on ordinance number 18-Z-16AA, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as an in PUD plan unit development on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee, adopted and established by the City Commission, and providing an effective date.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. If you all recall,
There's a motion and a second. We'll have a presentation from staff, and then any public hearing comments, and then we'll let you wrap up.
okay. Well, very quickly, Commissioners, if you all recall, as part of your CRA, the sale of this property was contingent upon you issuing an RFP to solicit offers for the property. During that process, you all identified what was important to the City of Tallahassee. In that process, you identified maintaining the historic features on the site, the plaza, maintaining or providing additional public parking, providing a view shed of the Capitol complex from Cascades Park, and providing an amphitheater support space. It's important to know that the development as proposed tonight is not required to go through a PUD process to obtain those densities and intensities. The PUD process was simply a process to make sure that we capture the things that you said were important when you issued the RFP on this site. So that's why we're here tonight, to go through that process. As the mayor indicated, I don't think staff can do justice what all thinking and the steps have gone through by the developer in this case to show the complexities of this project. It's a big project. It's a very complex project. So what worked very well at the Planning Commission meeting was allowing the developer and his team to come at the end of the presentation and really go over a lot of the details that I think you'll be quite surprised to hear the progress and how he's approached resolving the issues out there. So with that, we can turn it over to the public.
You ready for speakers?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have 2 speakers on this item, Mayor. The first is Althemise Barnes, and she will be followed by Amanda Morrison.
Good evening, Mayor Gillum and Commissioners. My name is Althemise Barnes, 2619 Summerwood Avenue. I am the Executive Director of the John G. Riley Center and Museum at 419 East Jefferson Street, and I'm here to speak in support of the Cascades Project. I am a volunteer member of the Community Historical User Group that has worked in close partnership with North American Properties on how to best honor our history within this project, within this development. As some of you may know, I have dedicated a good part of my life to helping save and share the history of Tallahassee's African American community, and we have a wonderful opportunity here to do that and expand even more as we do the Cascades expansion project. Thanks in part to the work of our user group, of which I am a member, we There will be preservation and restoration of the former Lynn County Health Department as part of the project. I remember visiting that health department as a child, and I'm pleased that we will finally be able to educate people about that historical significance. Our user group also worked with National American Properties to cast a vision for a historical plaza that will be created as part of the new development. The plaza will commemorate the important events of the civil rights movement and also highlight other aspects of our history. These efforts, together with the plans to restore the nearby Waterworks building, will bring new life to a budding historic district that educates residents and visitors about our past. On a personal note, I was a member of the KCCI group who worked diligently to restore the Waterworks building, so very pleased to see that the developer has incorporated that as a part of the plan. Finally, capturing and retelling our history in a way that is accessible to the public and available to future generations is of utmost importance. As such, I strongly encourage you to adopt the zoning ordinance that will allow the Cascades project to move forward as planned. It has been and continues to be a privilege to participate in this process, and I look forward to continuing. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Amanda Morrison.
Good evening. I hate going after Ms. Barnes. She comes with notes, and I don't have notes. But my name is Amanda Morrison. I live at 841 Circle Drive in the Myers Park neighborhood. But in addition, I'm also a business owner and a partner in For the Table Hospitality. We have 3 restaurants in the College Town area, a company called Social Catering and Events that just recently acquired space at the Capital City Country Club at 1601 Gulf Terrace Drive, also in the Myers Park neighborhood. And we also just opened an establishment called Happy Motoring at 1215 South Adams Street. So very invested both personally and professionally in our downtown, specifically kind of the south end of our downtown. So I get the unique privilege of just knowing all the reasons why I love to live there and why we've chosen that area to start our businesses. But 5 years ago, it was just our flagship restaurant, Madison Social, and it was the change with the development that North American Properties did in the Gain Street corridor in working relationship with city and county to identify that area, revitalize it, and see it to its full potential, that we were afforded an ability to grow. And it's the kind of development that for us has been life-changing. We started with 1 restaurant. It was successful because we had all of these major stakeholders invested in the success of an area, working towards a common goal, and now we have an established area that we can kind of check off our list from a CRA standpoint, from a development standpoint. The Gain Street area is anchored. The project that North American Properties is working on in our downtown core, I think, is going to achieve what, quite frankly, hasn't been able to be done for decades in our downtown core, and we already have private investors like our group making a significant investment in saving buildings that can be saved. Our project Happy Motoring was a full renovation of a historic gas station that dates back to the 1950s. But some properties, were left a little too long, and I think the property and its use that North American has planned for it, right in the center of a world-class park in the downtown urban core, is appropriately scaled. I love that, as Ms. Barnes mentioned, it's honoring our history and saving the buildings that can be saved and restored down there. But I like to speak to our future here in Tallahassee, because I think that it's people my age and that are the future of Tallahassee. And I lose a lot of friends and a lot of staff and employees to Atlanta and Denver and Austin and all of these other cities. But we're getting there. It's the work of what a concerted effort of private sector working in tandem with public sector to make amenities that are going to retain talent, that are going to keep the brain drain from happening from our university system. They want those things. They want to walk to work. They want to walk from their condo building down and grab coffee in the morning. They want to be able to walk to arts and culture culture and entertainment and a variety of things. And this is the kind of change that Tallahassee needs. North American Properties have been incredible partners and conscious of their neighbors. And I think it's just a rising tides lift all boats. And we're really excited at the proposed project.
Right. Thank you very much.
No further speakers on this item.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Commissioners, there was a motion and a second acknowledged. If there are no additional comments, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Excuse me. We're on to item 15.04.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
The developer clearly wanted to say something. Can we give them an Go ahead.
I was always told when you were winning to not, yeah. But in all honesty, I think it would be appropriate. Amanda said a lot in her. No. What I was actually
always says a lot.
As did Ms. Barnes, and I was going to compliment the fact that there was a partner with the capacity and the scale to really have a transformational impact. A lot of times, you got one individual who can take a risk. And unless a lot of support comes very quickly to sort of buttress that risk, we find a lot of efforts like this that will fail. And so I think there's an important mix that have come together here. Yes, you have an entrepreneurial interest. Yes, you have a major development partner, and the government is also at the table. But I would suggest that one of those things alone probably could not have accomplished it by itself. Which is why we are in this situation we find ourselves now, which I think is a happy story. So you got a few moments.
Yes, sir. Just very quickly.
I'm going to start the clock on you out of fairness for everyone else, but please.
Yes, sir. I'll go from a presentation to an update. I think that I think you all will recall over the past 4 years, we started with the purchase and sale agreement with FSU. We had the title issue. We had 2 RFPs. We had a selection committee. We had a purchase and sale agreement. We had 5 CRA meetings over 10 months. We had TDC presentations, historical user group with Ms. Barnes working with us, and 12 to 13 other individuals. Probably over 100 meetings with staff. DRC, we've gone through our Type A site plan. We've been through Planning Commission with unanimous approval, and then today we're here. We've gone through significant work to deliver to you what we promised, and just briefly going through it, I think that there's been a lot of questions about the architecture. I'll let Jenna talk just for a moment, and I'll update you. I promise we've got about 5 minutes, and we'll be through.
You're fine.
So, yeah.
He just told me to speed up. Good evening. My name is Jenna Winger. I live at 9521 Raptor Court here in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm born and raised Tallahassee, and now raising my own family here. I am a licensed architect, also practicing here with DAG Architects. We also maintain an office here in Tallahassee. I hold a bachelor's degree from Florida State University, and I hold a master's of architecture degree from Florida A&M University. So I have both alma maters. I am really pleased to be a part of the project team, and I believe that this development is going to strengthen the sense of place at Cascades, and it's going to also expand the enjoyment of the park. I take my kids to Cascades Park on a regular basis. It is a fantastic addition to our community, and I'm so glad it's one that our local government and partners came together to create. But I have to tell you that after we've walked around or we've played at the park, we get in our car and we drive away because there's nothing else there to do in tandem with it. And this is an opportunity to bring something to the park that's going to help us stay there a little bit longer. It's going to make us linger and enjoy the park longer. I would love to be able to sit down with my children at a kid-friendly restaurant that's right on the edge of the park and sit and watch them continue to play and be able to stay in this wonderful place that we have in our community. I do want to take you through just a couple of options to show some of the development that we've been making in the design of the buildings. This is a view of the current splash pad at the Cascades Imagination Fountain, and looking back towards the building that is going to house the city amphitheater spaces that are going to be public spaces owned by the city. There's also been a lot of discussion and thought about how we capture something of Tallahassee in the architecture of this development, and so that's what I want to speak on a little bit for you. I believe that here in the southeast, in the red clay hills of Tallahassee, the material of brick is clearly something that conveys who we are. And our residents and our visitors to Cascades will walk along brick storefronts and beautifully landscaped walks at the Cascades development. The architecture of the office building, which you see here in the center of the drawing, is really three different gestures to Tallahassee. There's a brick base, much like the historic power plant building that's across the park. There's a light-colored rectangular and handsome stack of office floors.
Yes, Jenna?
Yes.
You don't have to talk within 3 minutes and do it all within 3 minutes. This is
Not gonna make me speed
important,
through.
and so just take your time.
I will, thank you. So the office building also is a gesture to the state and the civic buildings downtown. The light color, the rectangular, the handsome stack of office floors. We really think that as we look at that from the park in a very broad view, we're going to see that start to stitch into what's already there in our downtown. And I think also the third gesture is the porch. So there's the porch here that you see that's a part of our city and community space. That's really an iconic architectural element in Tallahassee. And so that's something we wanted to bring to this building, something where we could overlook the park and enjoy that from those places. So this is a little bit of an updated view of the multifamily apartment building that I know you've taken a look at a few times. Again, I think the brick is a warm, rich backdrop to the landscape of our park. It helps to define the boundary of our downtown, and it also gestures towards the other historic brick buildings that are going to remain in the district. The apartments, I believe, really sit proud on the edge of the park, and together with the hotel, the building begins to frame a gateway between the park and our downtown. The facade of the building is moving in and out, and the materials change, and architecturally, that's really just an opportunity to visually reduce the scale of the building so that it appears more as a collection of buildings, and it's also for visual interest. The other thing that's interesting to note that we discovered in this process is that by dropping the corner of the building here on the west side, you see it sort of carved out, we found as we prepared the site that from this vantage point in the park across from the fountain, you can now see the dome of the historic old Capitol building. It was not seen before, and it will now always be a view that you'll be able to see and enjoy from Cascades Park. The other item to share are the townhomes. So throughout the discussions that we've had with staff, throughout the public comment that we've received, I'm sure you remember previously the apartment building wrapped all the way around this site, and it was 7 stories high even here on Gain Street. What we've chosen to do is change this to a townhome style product. So we're bringing the scale down. We're bringing it down to no more than 4 floors. It's really a more appropriate scale to Gain Street, and I think it's also going to be more appropriate to the adjacent historic structures that are to remain. As you approach the development from downtown next to the townhomes, we've decided to insert a little pocket park. And of course, this is one of the canopy oaks that have been saved on the lot. This really anchors the corner of the development, but I think it also just generally softens the urban experience in downtown Tallahassee. And then as we move across the development, we'll come to the historic plaza. This is going to be a place, of course, as the ladies before me have spoken, to remember and honor the significant people and history of this place, and to allow us an opportunity to tell those stories to our children. The public plaza will be a place for outdoor enjoyment, for gathering. We'd really like to see a farmer's market come back here. In the midst of our historic research, we discovered the curb market that used to be here decades ago. We'd like to see something like that come back to this area. And this is a place, you know, again, we take our kids, we take our family, our friends. Every time I have visitors to town, I say, you've got to go to Cascades Park. You've got to see what's going on there. And this is just going to be an extension of that. We've got the design, of course, in the center here towards the Capitol View Corridor. You'll see the cascading fountain and the grand stairs that really add, I think, to the experience of the Meridian Plaza. Another interesting discovery we made recently, again, with preparing the site, is that even though it's not shown in this rendering, we've discovered that when you stand on the state of Florida seal and look up towards the Capitol, you also now see the Carolyn Brevard building. You see those beautiful red roofs on the white building. It's another view corridor to some of our history here in this place. I think this is going to be the place people stand and they take a photo, they take a selfie, and they say, I was at Cascades. This is where groups from our community are going to stand on the stairs and take photos. It's going to be a place of community celebrations, and I think it's going to be a place we memorialize all the moments that we share. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions or comments about the architecture. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to Sean.
Commissioner Maddox.
I just want to thank you for including brick, and I know a lot of thought went into this, and I'm the one with the original comment of, I'm tired of all hail the gray box. And some of our, I'm not referencing your project here or any of the previous projects by this developer, but some of them look like East German Soviet era architecture.
Bauhaus, yeah.
And it clashes with everything that is Tallahassee. So I appreciate you incorporating porches, views, brick. That'll go a long way. And green.
I appreciate the extra time to give the update so I could slow down that speed talking. Thank you.
Great. We do.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor. So we're ready. We've solved the stormwater. We've solved utilities. We've solved traffic. We've solved design now. Public space is here with public parking, public amphitheater support space. We've delivered on our hotel promise. Worked with staff who's been incredible with our incredible team. And, what makes a place to live, work, and gather? It's an integrated mixture of public and private uses on one compact site planned accordingly, and built it once. And that's what we're going to do here. So we're ready, and thank you for your support.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Commissioners, we have approved the item. Looking forward to the next steps here. We're now on to... We did vote.
Well, since we voted already, Sean, could you tell us what your thoughts are on the waterworks at this point?
That seems to be the question.
Since we have you here.
The waterworks, as it became for sale at the entry to our development, presents a very unique opportunity. Our company in Austin, Texas, and in Cincinnati have taken old, very unique buildings like this. The outside of the waterworks is unique, but the inside of the waterworks is beautiful. The brickwork there, the three bricks stacked high with all the arches, we see that as becoming a unique artist space, but also integrating food service and libations in there. I think that the stuff Jenna explained on the park be very family-oriented. Will be, the coffee bakery, the food hall, etc. I see you don't want to put the same use in three places, so I see the waterworks being redeveloped into a very unique historical restaurant with things like with artists being able to work in there, having local art in there, and we also have other artisans. There's a glass blower in Railroad Square. There's another person that does art here, unique more than just painting. So we see that becoming kind of an art epicenter there at the front of the building, right across from the Historical Plaza. All the public parking that's around there with the state and the public parking the CRA is purchasing really is able to energize this at once. I think that the opportunity is very unique to us because as we spend $90 million across the streets, it's not going to be as expensive and as hard when we have our crews and our superintendents there working. The waterworks presents an incredible opportunity, but it also presents quite a puzzle to remain on the local historic register for restoration, but then to provide for accessibility and then restrooms and things like that really have to be incorporated in order for it to be used. Otherwise, it will become something that's not used. People want to go there and use it. So that's the plan. We've got about 2 years to figure that out as we build this, and that's our intent. And we do have to go to the local historical board once we do have designs.
I wanted you to know that a local photographer has gone in and taken some absolutely beautiful photographs of the building on the inside. One of them is my screensaver on my computer, on my iPad. And I'd like to give you his contact information, and certainly. I think you might find some of those to be something you'd like to put inside the building after it grows up, because they're just beautiful shots, and it's amazing how much color there is inside there.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll look forward to getting that information.
Thank you. Item 15.04.
I'll move the item.
Second. I need to
introduce it, please.
The item. Item number 15.04 is the adoption of the annual HUD action plan for FY 2018-2019. This is the third and final public hearing.
Great. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
Great. There's a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Item 15.05.
This item is the first and only public hearing on ordinance number 18-0-19, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending Section 15-36 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Tallahassee to revise the membership composition of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee and to clarify reporting timeframes to the City Commission, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing an effective date.
Move approval. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Any speakers?
No speakers.
Seeing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Excuse me, Commissioners. Thank you, City Attorney. We're now at the point in the meeting to hear from speakers on unagended items.
Mayor, we have two speakers tonight. The first is A.C. Stinson. After those remarks, we'll hear from Amber Tynan. As with the other portions of our meeting, speakers will have 3 minutes for your remarks. So if you'll give your name and address, you can begin.
All right. My name is A.C. Stinson, 145 San Benito Boulevard, Havana, Florida. I do manage property here in Tallahassee, although I do live in Havana. We currently manage a property on Pensacola Street on the corner of Pensacola and Cactus. I've contacted many of your offices. I've also contacted the police department on many occasions. We haven't really got much of a response. I got a response right before I walked in this meeting from an office. But since the homeless shelter has moved in, we started managing the property right about the time this owner bought it. Homeless shelter moved in, and we're only 24 units. We're a small property. We're on the corner across the street from the Marathon gas station, and we have no other options out there. We are looking to the city for some help. We constantly have people loitering outside of our building. Tenants are scared. This month alone, I had 5 tenants leave. We can't keep people there. When people come to the property, we have Friday when I got there to pull in the gate, I had 21 people standing out front of our property. They've gone to the Marathon gas station. They've come sit on our fence, passed out. The city put garbage cans up and down our corridor there. No one cleans them out. They rummage through them. They leave trash everywhere. We've hired security officers at $300 a month. We purchased a fence for the property, a gate to close the property off, $15,000 for a 24-unit complex. We're getting nowhere. The property owner is at a loss. He's put the property on the market. We've had 9 people come and look at the property. Each time the people come, they said, "What's the deal with the homeless out front?" I've gone to the homeless shelter. I've talked to them. No response. They did hook me up with a security company in the beginning. I've left 6 messages at the homeless shelter for the director. I've received no response. We have met with their operations director in the lobby there when I walked over to the homeless shelter, and that's where it went, nowhere else. I've had to go to the Hope House across the street because children have come into the pool at the property and gone swimming in the property. I asked why they're there. They said they're visiting a friend, and then when I go around the corner, they run back across a 4-lane highway, across Pensacola Street, back to the Hope House. That's going to fall on the property owner when something happens to a child on the property that we manage, and I'll also get sued on that as the property manager. We can't control it. We need the city to help, and we need assistance. And so far, we've gotten none or no response. And we just need to have the city step in, help. When the police come out, the last thing the police told us when they came out, we've had 14 calls in June alone to this property. Some of those are just the city doing their normal patrol. But what I was informed was that the commission has decriminalized loitering, and there's nothing they can do. So I'm stuck there with 21 people outside my gate, people not wanting to come rent properties from us.
Excuse me, that's 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming down here and sharing, and hopefully we'll be able to direct you in the right direction. I do want to correct the record. The city hasn't done anything as it relates to loitering. There's a Supreme Court case that came against cities that we're upholding. If the city attorney wants to speak further about that from the dais, we can do that. The city manager, I'm not sure how you'd like to direct this concern so that it gets to the right ACM.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Stinson, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to connect with Assistant City Manager Cynthia Barber. I want to make sure we get this to the right level. She's in the audience.
I was told she'd be calling me, but I never heard anything.
She's here tonight, and we'll make sure you speak tonight, and we get the right resources connected with you, and you have the right point of contact so when you have issues in the future. I appreciate you coming and sharing these thoughts with us.
Okay.
City Attorney, I don't know if you want to mention just a moment about the loitering.
Well, the problem is that we have had a United States Supreme Court case that's severely restricted our ability to arrest people for loitering. What we're trying to do is do our legal research so we can determine the best type of ordinance, something that can be legally defensible. And for that reason, we have decided to stop the enforcement until we can get something that we believe that the state attorney can support. So that's what we're working on.
It's making us try to enforce it, though, because we're sitting out there with people all day long. And that's the problem for us. We don't have the staff, the money, or the resources for 24 units to enforce loitering.
Understood.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Ms. Barber. We'll see you right there. Next speaker.
Mayor.
Commissioner Miller.
Mayor, and staff, this is an unacceptable problem for business, for this, especially some, an apartment complex where they're trying to rent the properties. So I'd really like for us to deal with this somehow. I mean, what I guess I'm asking is if you could accelerate some of your research into what might work and might not, and at least bring it forward to us, and maybe we'll have a workshop or in some way, in some format, we'll talk about it, because we have provided the community with this world-class center where, with all kinds of help for people, and so let's don't do half the job. Let's do the rest of the job and figure out now how we can keep owners and managers from. I mean, they literally have no recourse, and I think it's our responsibility that he doesn't have to deal with a situation like this. So, whatever can be done over the break to bring back to us in September, and so that we can actually get somewhere with this and provide some sort of relief.
Commissioner Maddox.
I agree, but it's not just around the shelter. There's a concentrated problem with it there. Frenchtown suffered for decades under the old shelter, which was far, far worse. Today, families can't use the gazebo in the chain of parks that's by the old city cemetery because of the population that stays in the gazebo and outside the Leon County Public Library. We have a problem around Lake Ella and the shelters in Lake Ella where families can't use that as well. So it's not just in this area, it's overall. So I look forward to the ordinance coming back so we can look at ways to ensure safety of people.
In the course of simply said, we have to be very specific because panhandling essentially is a First Amendment right. And so we have to show a compelling governmental interest. We're going to have specific factual findings in the record. So we're working on the ordinance. We'll bring it back as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ziffer.
In particular, also if you could address some of the panhandling that's occurring on medians, particularly out near Costco and areas like that, where there's actual real danger for the panhandlers, but also for anybody that's in a vehicle. So I've gotten several people call me about that as well.
Well, the courts have indicated that is specifically the type of regulation we can do, but we're going to have the factual findings in the record as to the danger of the intersection and all those that type of information. Just generally being out panhandling is a little bit trickier.
Yep.
Excuse me. On the not this intersection piece, but on the larger panhandling and the loitering piece, which we heard some examples of just tonight. I actually think that's probably a conversation that's requiring of us, the county, and the sheriff to sit down with, because at the moment we began making arrests here, there's a whole nother set of costs that have to come into play that some of us bear, some of it bear it across the board, and I just think we have to have a community leadership conversation on what we're going to do in this regard. If the city adopts and then starts enforcing a set of ordinances carried out by our law enforcement, and the appreciable costs that then come with that, I just, I think we got to enter this with eyes wide open, and I do agree that there are costs on all sides of it. But we certainly shouldn't in any way appear as if we're not clear that there are other substantial costs on the side of arresting and detaining panhandlers. Sure.
Well, I'd like to
Miller.
hear some alternatives to arresting also. I mean, I'm not sure that's the answer. But as far as the loitering issue is concerned and gathering in front of a business and basically, I mean, using the pool is, these are things that there's got to be there has to be some way to deal with this, and that's what I'm interested in hearing. I'm certainly not advocating that we go out and round everybody up and put them in jail, because I don't think that's going to solve anything at all. So let's try to broaden our scope as far as what we can do with this problem.
Other questions on this item? All right. Any other speakers?
One other speaker tonight, Mayor, Amber Tynan. And that's the last speaker we have for the evening.
Amber Tynan, 2477 Tim Gamble Place. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for having me here tonight. I come before you on behalf of United Partners for Human Services. We have been collaboratively partnered with the City of Tallahassee as well as Leon County since the inception of CHSP, and we are grateful for the rescinding request of the Kearney Center in the city item. But one of the things that has come out of the discussions with their leadership teams as well as our board of directors is understanding the need for a built-in criteria for considering as well as accepting funding requests outside of the CHSP process. Through our contract as well as our commitment through our mission, we are required to protect the integrity of the CHSP process, and in part disallowing organizations that are eligible from circumventing that system and going directly to the commissions directly. So we come before you on behalf of over 80 members in a unified voice asking for two specific considerations of two items that I think can help us get to a happy medium and creating a new process as well as establishing a criteria. The first is we would really love to convene a community-wide discussion among city staff, county staff, other stakeholders in the community to begin contingency planning with our critical human service providers in the event that emergency and basic needs issues affecting our community due to lack of funding, and what that means from an indirect and direct perspective to the city and its resources. And I think that conversation needs to extend well beyond that to include opportunities in the future with affordable housing as well as health equity, transportation, and any other issue that could affect our community's quality of life. You have an incredible staff working with Michael Parker and his team. We're grateful for that partnership, but even still, we need to create some sort of discussion around this so that in the event there are times of crisis or an emergency, agencies aren't simply turned away. We have a process and a policy in order to address that. As you may know, 38% of the agencies that receive funding through CHSP experienced a cut last year. 58% of those same agencies are going to receive a funding cut from the United Way this year. We are not yet sure what that looks like for CHSP, but we anticipate increased cuts as well. And historically, what happens when a nonprofit receives a funding cut, they have one of two choices. The first is they either start by cutting staff and cutting services, or they start looking for additional resources and funding sources. And that's great if you're a larger agency because you have the capacity and the resources to realign those priorities to do so. However, if you're a smaller organization, like many of the ones that are funded in CHSP, that often means that you have to cut off services to that 41+% of the population who utilize our services and our agencies as a safety net to provide basic needs and really bridge the gap for quality of life for them.
Excuse me, that's 3 minutes.
Okay.
You want to wrap up?
Sure. The last thing is I would just love your authorization in working with both Michael and Shington at the county to authorize a needs assessment. I think that will really help us understand the true needs in our community, help us potentially reallocate funds and redistribute our funding priority areas to, again, help build a criteria for considering these requests while maintaining the current integrity of the CHSP process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if there's action from the commission to have a meeting in this regard, but I certainly would be interested in any feedback that comes back from staff on it.
We'll be happy to give you some feedback, Mr. Mayor. I don't think any action is required. And of course, we're always available to talk. In fact, I think there was an agenda item that was on your meeting earlier today. I think that was an indication that when our partners need help, we're willing to listen. I think that always exists. And we'll continue to work with Amber and her team. Michael's our point of contact. I think the point of collaboration with the county is important. And I think the county has a different process than we have, and the comments that I hear probably are more pointed in that regard. But we'll continue to work and provide you feedback.
Commissioner Miller.
Mayor and Commissioners, I wanted to, while Amber's here, I wanted to mention that she is someone who is interested in taking the spot of my appointee on the on OASIS Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. And so I'm hoping, unfortunately, my wonderful appointee she has gotten a full-time job and she just can't spend the time doing it anymore, so she has just recently resigned. And I'm planning on asking your support in my suggestion that Amber be my nominee on that in a future agenda item. But while she was here, I wanted to say here is Amber, and
That's
hopefully
great.
we'll see her on our Commission on the Status of Women and Girls.
Welcome. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, we've exhausted our agenda, but sharing of ideas, Commissioner Ziffer.
I just have a request. Hopefully we can resolve it now. Commissioner Maddox and I both serve on the Florida League of Cities Board of Directors. I serve in my capacity as president, and Commissioner Maddox serves as a past president on the board. We also have an additional board slot as being one of the 10 largest cities. As we all know, Commissioner Miller is going to be leaving the commission, as will I, in November. But we do need to appoint someone to fill for next year. If I could request that Commissioner Miller continue in that position until she leaves in November, and then that would allow the next commission an opportunity to appoint to finish out that term, if we could do that.
Yeah, you're currently serving in that capacity.
We have to officially
extend the, okay,
yeah, we have to let the league know officially what that is.
Are there any objections? Seeing none. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Other sharing of ideas?
It's hot, it's hot, it's hot. Can you do something about the weather? I mean, it was, I was led to expect.
I don't think
turn
the mayor can.
Turn the air down.
No, wait a minute now.
That's
Mayor,
hilarious.
Can you do something about the weather?
Yes, it's John Mark's weather meter.
The spring led
It
us
broke.
to believe we were going to be able to enjoy weather that was characteristic of some other place.
Bad.
And
It's not
it
good.
just has not worked out that way, and I'm having trouble adjusting.
We are definitely ready to go. All those in favor, the meeting is adjourned, actually. Oh, you don't need it to be in favor.